Welcome everyone to 7 Minutes or Less, talking about the shows you love and want to get into. Today we will be talking about Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1. This will be a spoiler-free review, mostly because at this point I like to recommend and talk about shows on here before I dive into spoilers. But before I begin talking about Ash vs. Evil Dead, keep in mind two things. If you're unfamiliar with this show, it's very much based off of the movies that came out before it. No need to worry about catching up, as the show does a good job keeping the events in check, but it's, well, relentlessly gory and quite obnoxious in story, death dealing, and dialogue. Secondly, I reviewed the first three films in some spoilerific fashion, so go and check that out. Just look at it in my channel and see Evil Dead Trilogy review. You can't miss it. But Ash vs. Evil Dead takes place 30 years after the events of the films. Ash is a single man, womanizing every girl he sees, using his hand as a tool to woo them in. Protector of the Necronomicon. God, I mess that up every single time. Necronomicon. Makes me want to go to Comic-Con. He finds himself speaking a passage from the book when he's trying to impress a girl, and he unleashes a few deadites that start causing some trouble not only for Ash, but a few co-workers, Pablo and Kelly, who accompany him in this weird, gory, crazy journey. That journey is to undo what Ash did, and, well, people start dying in the process. Now, there are a few more characters that do get involved that are victims to this onset of terrors, and that being of a cop who gets involved befriending a mysterious individual, Ruby, who is after Ash. And these two add a little bit more to the story that I actually quite enjoy. Now, with all that said, with everyone involved, this is the craziest 10 half-an-hour episodes I've ever seen. Sure, there are some episodes longer than 30 minutes, maybe by a few minutes, but good lord does the time fly, and that is thanks to Bruce Campbell's performance. He plays Ash as a sarcastic, perverted, womanizing guy who is dumb on the outside and maybe a little on the inside, but is emotionally stunted because he was tortured for a long time ever since he walked into that cabin since the first film. So a lot of his life has been stripped away from him, but he is very lighthearted in some cases and very hardcore in everything else, especially when it comes to killing demons, possessing the bodies of people he knows. Now, while I apologize for the lack of images in this review, it's mostly because I don't want to throw too much gore on the video and be flagged for inappropriate content. In fact, if you're interested, you're going to have to see for yourself how obnoxiously violent this really is. And that's how I described the first movie. Or maybe that was the second movie. I don't think so. This show carries on that. It's slow at first, but as you get closer and closer to the end, dear God, it's so much. I think the supporting characters are more than just one-note victims waiting to die. There is a story behind them, whether they are vowing revenge or fulfilling their calling, but there are plenty of victims in this show as well. And I'd say there was at least one girl victim that seriously got the short end of the stick, and while I won't give anything away, she seriously saw a lot of blood splattering on her face, body chopping, puncture wounding, and screaming as she joins the adventure. But it does take a bit to manifest literally and logically for a villain to show up in this show. So once a villain finally develops, the show ends. Luckily for us, we have 2 more seasons readily available on Netflix. At least at the time of this review, it's on there. I just rather enjoy the expansion of Ash's world and then the Deadites and then the Necronomicon and everything. And it was a great time. Ash vs. Evil Dead was probably the most fun I've had binging and the most goriest. Do not go in thinking this will be some kind of thing you can just pop in and have your kids watch, unless they can handle that stuff. Cursing, gore, violence, naked bodies, depictions of sex, all that stuff's in it. Of course, while I found the violence and the cursing and the story awesome, it may not be your cup of tea. And I'm gonna give Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1 a B+. I can't wait to get into Season 2, and that's what's gonna be up next, my friends. But with that said, my fine fellow guys and gals, thank you all so much for watching. If you are interested in seeing Ash vs. Evil Dead and found my review interesting enough or informative enough, Give me a like, maybe a share, and if you'd be so gracious to help me out, subbing would make all the difference. If you're new to my channel here, I do TV show reviews in 7 minutes or less, a trailer to film analysis for new release movies, with a spin-off of Love Like Hate of films I didn't see in the theater. All coming down to universe reviews that take movies and or TV shows that set up a universe. Your support means everything to me, and just by that alone, I'll get you more reviews in the future.